Hello orchid lovers around the world. Today's video, we're going to dive into the beauty of repotting. Repotting might sound like a simple task, but for orchids, it's one of the most important moments in their care. It's when they get a fresh start, a cleaner space, and room for their roots to breathe again. We'll go step by step together. So if your orchid hasn't been repotted in a while, or if you're just curious how to do it the right way, stay tuned. This one's for you. We're going to start by carefully removing the plant from its old pot. Take your time with this step, because orchids can be a little delicate. As we lift the plant out, we can already see the overall condition looks quite good. The leaves are firm, the color is bright, and the base of the plant is clean with no signs of rot. That's always a great sign. It means the orchid has been growing well so far. But even when a plant looks healthy, repotting is still important. Over time, the substrate, whether it's moss, bark, or a mix, begins to break down and lose its structure. When that happens, it holds on to water for too long and stops letting the roots breathe. That's when issues like root rot or slow growth can start to appear. So now we're going to gently remove all that old substrate around the roots. Do this slowly, using your fingers to separate the pieces one by one. Try not to pull or twist the roots. Just loosen the material carefully until the roots are clean and free. You might notice some roots are tightly tangled. That's perfectly fine, as long as they're healthy and firm. This part might take a little patience, but it's one of the most satisfying steps. Seeing all those clean, healthy roots means your orchid is ready for its next chapter. While we're doing this, did you know that Colombia is actually the country with the most orchid species in the entire world? It's estimated that Colombia is home to more than 4,000 different species. And what's even more fascinating is that about 1 out of every 10 orchids found there can't be seen anywhere else on Earth. These orchids grow in almost every kind of environment, from misty mountain slopes to deep tropical rainforests, creating an incredible variety of shapes, colors, and fragrances. The country's national flower is the Cattleya trianni, a stunning pinkish-purple orchid that represents both beauty and strength. It's often called Flor de Mayo, or Mayflower, and it's treasured as a symbol of Colombian pride and biodiversity. Right after Colombia comes Ecuador, another paradise for orchid enthusiasts. Even though Ecuador is smaller in size, it holds nearly as many species because of its rich climate and unique geography. Orchids there can be found growing on mossy tree trunks in the cloud forests, tucked into rocky cliffs, and even thriving near volcanoes. Each region has its own little ecosystem that gives life to different orchid forms. From tiny jewel orchids that shimmer like gemstones to massive ones with blooms larger than your hand. When you think about it, it's incredible that the orchid sitting right in front of us belongs to that same vast and diverse family. Each orchid, no matter where it's from, shares that same resilience and elegance. Once the substrate is fully removed, take a moment to look closely at the roots before trimming. You'll notice that some roots appear plump, firm, and silvery green. Those are the healthy ones. They're what keep the plant hydrated and strong. But there might also be a few that look soft, dark, or hollow. These roots are no longer able to provide nutrients or absorb water, and they should be trimmed away. So now, using a clean pair of shears or scissors, carefully cut off any root that feels mushy, dry, or hollow when you touch it. It's very important that your tools are disinfected before cutting. You can wipe them with rubbing alcohol or dip them in boiling water for a few seconds. This helps prevent spreading bacteria or fungus to the healthy roots. Take your time with this step. Trimming too quickly can sometimes harm roots that are still partly alive. A healthy root will feel firm and springy, while a dead one will collapse easily when you press it between your fingers. If you're unsure, always err on the side of caution and leave it. Orchids can recover much faster from a mistrim than from an overcut. After that, let's give the orchid a nice wash using a gentle water spray. This step helps rinse away any leftover bits of old substrate or dust that may still be clinging to the roots. A soft spray of clean water will also refresh the plant after trimming. It's almost like giving it a breath of fresh air before settling into its new home. Make sure the water is at room temperature. Orchids are quite sensitive to extreme temperatures, so avoid anything too cold or too warm. Gently spray from the top down, allowing the water to flow naturally over the roots and base of the leaves. This helps remove any residue and encourages hydration. If your orchid had been sitting in old or compacted substrate for a long time, this rinse is especially important. It clears out bacteria or salts that could have built up over time. You don't need to soak it, just enough to make everything clean and fresh. Once you're done, take a soft, clean tissue or cloth and gently pat the leaves dry. We want the plant to stay clean, but not wet for too long, since trapped moisture can sometimes lead to rot. By the end, your orchid should look brighter, cleaner, and ready for the next step. Now let's start making our fertilizer. This is a simple, natural recipe that gives your orchid a gentle boost. We're going to start with a fresh lemon. Choose one that's firm and healthy with a bright yellow skin. Go ahead and cut it in half. We'll only need juice from one side for this mix. Using a fine mesh strainer or filter, carefully squeeze the juice into a clean container. This helps catch any seeds or pulp that we don't want getting into the solution. Once you've collected the juice, pour in about 1 liter of clean water. Make sure the water is not too cold. Room temperature works best. The lemon juice is slightly acidic, and when diluted properly, it helps balance the pH level around the roots. This makes it easier for the orchid to absorb nutrients and keeps the growing medium fresh. After adding the water, give the mixture a gentle stir, just enough to blend everything evenly. You don't need to shake it too hard. We're not making lemonade, just a soft, nourishing mix for our plant. When you're done, you should have a clear, lightly scented solution. Simple, clean, and ready for the next ingredient in our natural fertilizer blend. Now prepare a container big enough to comfortably fit your orchid. It doesn't have to be fancy, just wide and deep enough so the roots can spread out naturally. Next, pour in the lemon solution we just made. Fill it up until there's enough liquid to submerge the roots, but not so much that it touches the leaves or stem. We only want the roots soaking. That's where the magic happens. Once your container is ready, slowly position the orchid into the water. Be gentle and make sure the roots are fully submerged beneath the surface. If you notice any air bubbles forming, give the plant a little wiggle. This helps release trapped air, so the solution can reach every part of the root system. We're going to let it sit for about 25 minutes. Now grab yourself a clean tissue or soft cloth. Dip it lightly into the lemonade solution we made earlier. Make sure it's damp but not dripping wet. We just want enough moisture to glide smoothly over the leaves. Then, carefully wipe across each leaf. Start from the base and move outward toward the tip. Take your time with this. The goal here is to remove any dust, residue, or small pests that might be hiding on the surface. This step doesn't just clean the leaves. It also gives them a gentle shine and helps the plant breathe better, since orchids take in some moisture through their leaves too. If you notice any stubborn spots or slightly yellow patches, you can give them an extra gentle rub. Just be careful not to press too hard, as orchid leaves are delicate and can bruise easily. Repeat the same process for every leaf, top and bottom. The underside is often where tiny insects or fungus like to hide. When you're done, your orchid will look fresh, bright, and full of life, almost like it just came out of a gentle spa treatment. Now pour the remaining solution into a basin that we've prepared, filled with fresh pine bark. This will be the new home for our orchid. We want to give the bark a nice soak. Gently stir it around using your hand or a clean stick, making sure every piece gets coated evenly in the lemon solution. Think of this step like washing your clothes. You want the bark to be refreshed, clean, and lightly moistened before it goes back into the pot. Soaking the bark helps in two important ways. First, it softens the pieces just enough to make them easier for the orchid roots to settle into. And second, it helps remove any dust or residue that might have built up from packaging or storage. Bark can sometimes carry small traces of tannin or dirt, so this little wash gives a clean start. Let it sit and soak for a few minutes. While it's doing that, the bark will slowly absorb the nutrients from our lemon mix, giving a nice balance of moisture and a slightly acidic touch that orchids love. Now, let us prepare a new home for our orchid. This is the most exciting part, where everything comes together. Start by choosing a pot with clear drainage holes. This is very important because orchids don't like sitting in still water. The drainage holes will let any excess moisture escape, keeping the roots healthy and preventing rot. If you have a transparent pot, that's even better. It lets you easily check the roots and moisture level later on. Before we begin filling, make sure the pot is clean. Give it a quick rinse if needed, just to remove any dust or residue. Now, let's slowly fill the first layer with the pine bark we soaked earlier. Spread it evenly across the bottom, making sure it covers the holes but still allows air to pass through. This bottom layer acts like a cushion. It keeps the roots lifted and gives them space to breathe. Next, carefully bring in your orchid. Position it right in the center of the pot, making sure it sits upright and balanced. The base of the plant should rest just above the rim of the pot. Not too deep, not too high. If your orchid has long roots, you can gently coil them inside, but don't force them. Let them fall into place naturally. Some roots may even peek out of the pot later on, and that's perfectly fine. Orchids love a bit of airflow around their roots. Once the orchid feels stable, begin adding more pine bark around it. Do this slowly, one handful at a time. Use your fingers or a small stick to tuck the bark gently between the roots. Avoid pressing down too hard. We want the bark to support the plant without suffocating it. You'll notice the pot gradually filling up. Take your time to make sure every side is even and the orchid stays upright. And to top it all, we'll cover the surface with a soft layer of moss. The moss serves several important purposes. It helps keep the moisture in, prevents the bark from drying out too quickly, and gives the orchid a stable surface while its roots adjust to the new pot. Plus, it adds that finishing touch, giving your plant a clean, natural look that feels like a little piece of the forest floor. Take small handfuls of moss and gently spread them across the top. Don't press it down too tightly. Just let it rest loosely so air can still flow underneath. You want it to feel fluffy, not packed. The moss should cover the entire surface evenly, but make sure none of it touches the crown of the orchid. Keeping that area open helps avoid water buildup, which could cause rot. But we still got one more fertilizer to make. This one will give our orchid an extra boost of strength and nutrition. Start by preparing a clean container filled with about 1 liter of water. Make sure it's room temperature, not too hot or cold. Then, add the teaspoon of molasses first. You'll notice it's thick and sticky, so it might take a moment to dissolve. Molasses provides trace minerals and natural sugars that feed beneficial microorganisms around the roots. It's like giving your orchid soil a healthy little ecosystem. Next, add a teaspoon of the fermented fish protein. Don't worry if it has a strong smell. That's normal. This ingredient is packed with nitrogen, amino acids, and organic matter that promote strong, steady growth. When used in small amounts, It helps the orchid recover faster after repotting and encourages the development of new roots. Once both ingredients are in, stir the mixture gently. Make sure the molasses fully dissolves into the water and the fish protein is evenly blended. You should end up with a slightly cloudy, nutrient-rich solution. This will be our strengthening fertilizer. Now we will pour about half of our mixture into a spray can. This will make it easier to apply evenly without overdoing it. Make sure to give a little swirl before pouring, just to keep everything well mixed. Once your spray can is ready, start by gently misting around the plant. Move in slow circular motion so that the leaves, the surface of the moss, and even the upper roots get a light, even coat. You don't need to drench the plant. Just a fine mist will do. Think of it as giving your orchid a refreshing drink and a nutrient boost at the same time. As you spray, you might notice a soft sheen appearing on the leaves. That's the natural oils and minerals from the molasses and fish protein forming a protective layer that helps the plant breathe and photosynthesize better. Be sure to also spray a little bit around the base of the plant where the roots peek out. This helps encourage new root tips to grow healthy and strong. And if you're working with multiple orchids, make sure each one gets its fair share. A little mist goes a long way. As for the rest, you can use it to water around the pot. Pour it slowly, letting the liquid soak through the moss and pine bark rather than flooding it all at once. You'll notice the water trickling down through the drainage holes. That's exactly what we want. It helps flush out any leftover salts or buildup while carrying those nutrients deep into the root zone. This step is especially important after repotting, since it helps the roots settle into their new home and start absorbing nutrients right away. The mix of molasses and fish protein will encourage new root growth, while also helping the plant bounce back faster from any stress caused by trimming or transplanting. Make sure to water evenly all the way around the pot, not just in one spot. Orchids appreciate moisture that spreads throughout the medium, so each root gets its share. Once the excess water drains out, place your orchid somewhere bright with good airflow. Now, I realized we still have some leftover solution in the spray can, and instead of letting it go to waste, I like to take you all on a little tour of my lovely orchid garden. This is one of my favorite parts of the day, walking through the rows of orchids, checking on each one, and giving them a little care. We can use this same solution for the other orchids too. Just give each plant a light mist over the leaves and roots. This will help keep them hydrated, shiny, and full of life. You'll notice how the leaves almost glow under the light after a gentle spray. It's like they're saying thank you for the extra attention. As we move through the garden, take a look at the variety here. Some are still young, with small, tender leaves, while others are already blooming in full color. And there you have it, another beautiful session of orchid care, complete from repotting to fertilizing and a little garden tour to end it off. Taking care of orchids isn't just about following steps. It's about patience, observation, and a bit of love in every action. If you enjoyed today's video or learned something new, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out on the next orchid care tip. I always love hearing from you too, so leave a comment below and share how your orchids are doing, maybe even what kind you're growing right now. Thank you so much for watching. Stay patient, stay curious, and, as always, keep blooming, orchid lovers.